My brother got my fiancée pregnant, so I disappeared for 5 years. Now he's in a coma and my parents want me to take his place. 5 years ago, I learned that some betrayals don't come with warning signs. I'm Owen Vale. Back then, I was 27, working as a textile engineer for a mid-sized manufacturing company, pulling decent money and building what I thought was a solid future. I'd been with Marina Sis for 3 years. She was a wedding planner, which seemed almost funny in retrospect. She planned other people's dream weddings for a living, and ours was supposed to be in exactly 1 month. Everything seemed perfect. That's the part that still gets me sometimes. There were no red flags I missed, no gut feelings I ignored, or maybe I was just that blind. My family situation was complicated. My older brother, Dorian, had always been the golden child. He was 30 then, worked in our family's construction supply business, and could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Charismatic, confident, the kind of guy who walked into a room and owned it. Me, I was the backup son, the responsible one, the one who didn't need attention because I had my life together. I'd made peace with that dynamic years ago, or so I thought. It was a Tuesday when my mother called. "Owen, can you come by the house tonight? We need to discuss some final wedding details." I was in the middle of reviewing production schedules, but I told her, "Sure, no problem." Probably wanted to talk about seating arrangements or whether we needed to add extra chairs for some cousin I'd never met. Marina and I had already handled most of the planning, but my mother liked to feel involved. I finished up at work, grabbed some takeout, and drove to my parents' place around 7:00. It was the house I grew up in, a modest 2-story in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place that should have felt safe and familiar. When I walked through the door, my father was in the kitchen. He looked at me with this weird expression I couldn't quite read. Then just nodded and went back to whatever he was doing. Didn't say a word. "Owen, we're in the living room." My mother called out. I walked down the hallway, still thinking about wedding details, maybe mentally preparing to defend our choice of centerpieces or something equally trivial. Then I stepped into the living room and my entire world tilted. Marina was sitting on the couch. That wasn't the strange part. She'd been over to my parents' house plenty of times. What stopped me cold was that Dorian was sitting right next to her, closer than siblings-in-law should sit. My mother was in the armchair across from them, her hands folded in her lap. My father had followed me in and positioned himself near the doorway like he was blocking an exit. "Owen, sit down," my mother said. Her voice was too calm, too controlled. "What's going on?" I looked at Marina, then at Dorian. Neither of them would meet my eyes. "We need to talk to you about something." My mother continued about the wedding. That's when I noticed it. Marina's hand was resting on her stomach, not casually, but protectively, like she was cradling something, and my mother's face had an expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't anger or disappointment or any of the emotions I'd grown up learning to read. It was pity. I didn't sit down. "Owen, please," my mother said again, gesturing to the empty chair. "Just tell me what's going on." My voice came out steadier than I felt. Marina finally looked up at me. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. But there was something else there. Too. Guilt, maybe, or resignation. Dorian cleared his throat. "Look, man. There's no easy way to say this. Then just say it." The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Then Marina spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm pregnant." For a split second, I felt this stupid surge of confusion. We talked about kids, sure, but not until after the wedding. Not until we were more settled. Then I saw the way she was sitting next to Dorian, the way his hand was resting on the couch cushion between them, almost touching her leg. And I understood. "It's Dorian's," she said. And I watched my entire future collapse in real time. I didn't move. Didn't speak. My brain was trying to process the words, but they didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. Marina trailed off. Then tried again. "We didn't mean for it to happen. We tried to stop. But how long?" My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. Dorian shifted uncomfortably. "About 6 months. 6 months. Half a year." I did the math automatically. She was 3 months pregnant, which meant they'd been sleeping together for 3 months before that. Before we'd sent out wedding invitations. Before we'd booked the venue. "Where?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Marina's silence confirmed it. "My apartment," I said flatly. "You were doing this in my apartment." "Owen," she started. During my work trips, I remembered all those times I'd traveled for the company, sometimes gone for a week at a time. I'd come home and she'd be there waiting, smiling, asking about my trip. And the whole time, "We can't deny what we feel," Marina said. And the sheer audacity of that statement almost made me laugh. "I know this is terrible timing, but we can't fight something this real." "This real," I repeated. "You're having his baby. My brother's baby in my home." While planning a wedding to me, Dorian finally spoke up and his tone was almost conversational, like we were discussing sports scores. "Come on, man. You have to understand when something's this intense, you can't just ignore it. We tried to fight it, but don't. I cut him off, my eyes moving to my mother. She'd been sitting there this whole time listening to them explain how they've been betraying me for half a year, and her face showed. What? Sympathy? Understanding? But not for me, Owen, she said carefully. I know this is difficult to hear. The wedding is Dorian and Marina are going to be together now. They're having a baby and we need to accept the situation because they're in love. I stared at her. Accept the situation. You're young. You'll find someone else. But they have a child on the way. She glanced at my father who was still standing by the door, looking anywhere but at me. Family comes first, Owen. We need to support them. And there it was. The moment I realized this wasn't an intervention or a confession. This was them telling me the decision had already been made. They weren't asking for my forgiveness. They were asking me to disappear. My father, the man who taught me to ride a bike and helped me move into my first apartment, just stood there, silent, useless. Something inside me went very cold and very calm. You're right, I said quietly. Family does come first. I saw my mother's face relax slightly, like she thought I was going to be reasonable about this. That's why I'm done with all of you. I turned toward the door. My father actually stepped aside to let me pass. Owen, don't be dramatic. My mother called out. We can work through this like adults. I stopped at the doorway and looked back at her at all of them. There's nothing to work through. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out of that house and heard the door close behind me with a finality that echoed in the quiet suburban street. I would never walk through it again. That night, I went back to my apartment, the same apartment where they'd been screwing behind my back, and I started erasing my old life. I blocked every number, Marina, Dorian, my mother, my father, every mutual friend who might try to play mediator, changed my phone number the next day, locked down every social media account, or made everything private, deleted anyone connected to that world. 2 weeks later, I gave notice at my job. A month after that, I moved 800 miles away to a state where nobody knew my name or my history. That was 5 years ago. Now I'm 32, sitting in my corner office at a major textile manufacturing firm where I'm a senior production manager. I make double what I did back then. I've got a team of 15 people under me and last quarter we exceeded our targets by 18%. I did therapy. Real therapy. Not just venting to friends over beer. Spent 2 years working through the betrayal. The family dysfunction. Learning how to trust again. Learning that what happened wasn't a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of theirs. For the past 8 months, I've been seeing someone. Her name's Iris. She works in graphic design and we met at a coffee shop when she accidentally grabbed my order. We're taking it slow. She knows I came from a messy situation. But I haven't told her the details yet. Maybe I will eventually, or maybe the past can just stay buried. I haven't heard from my family in 5 years. Not a single call, text, email, or message through mutual friends. Complete radio silence. Sometimes I wonder if they think about me at all, but mostly I don't wonder. I've built a good life without them, and that's enough. Then on a random Thursday evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost sent it to voicemail. I get enough spam calls. But something made me answer. Hello, Owen. It's Mom. Please don't hang up. Something's happened. I should have hung up immediately. Should have blocked the number and gone back to my life. But I didn't. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was muscle memory from years of being the beautiful son. I'm listening, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Her voice sounded older. Strained. It's Dorian. He was in an accident. A bad one. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. And she was just now calling. That told me everything about where I ranked in the family hierarchy. Still dead last. Drunk driving, she continued. He hit a tree going 70. He's in a coma, Owen. The doctors don't know if he'll wake up. And even if he does, there's extensive brain damage. He'll never be the same. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy, just a distant sort of acknowledgement that actions have consequences. Why are you calling me? I asked. Marina is struggling. The child, he's 4 now. He keeps asking about his father. The medical bills are piling up. The business is falling apart without Dorian to run things. Your father's health isn't good. And this stress, Mom, I cut her off. Why are you calling me? There was a pause, a long one. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It had that particular tone I remembered from childhood. The one she used when she needed something. Owen, we need you to come home. We need you to help Marina and the child. Not just financially. We need you to take Dorian's place. The words hung in the air like poison. For a moment, I genuinely thought I'd misheard her. Say that again, I said quietly. Marina needs real support, Owen, not just money. She can't do this alone. The child needs a father figure in the house, someone stable and present. We need you to move in with her. Help raise the boy. I sat down, not because I was complying, but because my legs suddenly felt unreliable. Let me make sure I understand what you're asking, I said, my voice dangerously calm. You want me to move in with the woman who was sleeping Julian's brother in my own apartment while planning a wedding to me? You want me to raise the child they made together? You want me to just step into Dorian's life and play house with his family? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Mom, explain it to me. She took a breath and I could hear her gathering her thoughts, preparing her pitch. The boy's name is Troy. He's 4 years old, and he's asking why his daddy won't wake up. Marina is drowning. The medical bills, the mortgage, trying to work while managing a child alone. She needs help, real help, someone living there being present. She has you. She has Dad. She has the family that chose her over me. Your father isn't well, Owen. His heart. This stress is destroying him. I'm trying to hold everything together, but I can't be there every day. I can't be what Troy needs. So, you need a replacement, Dorian, and you thought of your backup son. That's not fair, isn't it? I was standing now pacing my apartment. 5 years ago, you told me to accept the situation. You told me they were in love and I needed to move on. You didn't call to check on me once. Not on what would have been my wedding day. Not on my birthday. Not once in 5 years. But now Dorian's broken and suddenly you remember I exist. We made mistakes, she said, and I almost laughed at the understatement. I know we didn't handle things well back then. But you're better than this, Owen. You always were. You're the responsible one. The one who thinks things through. That child is innocent in all of this. He needs stability. There it was. The manipulation I'd grown up with. Dorian could be reckless, selfish, destructive, but Owen was supposed to be responsible. Owen was supposed to clean up the messes. I'm not asking you to forgive us, she continued. I'm asking you to think about Troy. To think about family. Family, I repeated. The same family that sat me down and told me to accept being replaced. Dorian made mistakes. Dorian made choices. You all made choices, and I'm making mine. Owen, please. Your father's will still includes you. The business, the house. When the time comes, you'll be taken care of. But right now, we need our family together. We need you to step up. And there was the carrot after the stick. The inheritance I'd never asked for, never wanted, being dangled like I was supposed to be grateful. You keep saying family, I said. But you know what real family does? They don't ask you to sacrifice yourself to fix their mistakes. They don't expect you to move in with the woman who destroyed you to raise her child with your brother. If positions were reversed, my mother said, her voice hardening, Dorian would do it for you. That broke something inside me. Not my resolve, that was solid. But whatever small part of me that still wondered if maybe I was being too harsh, too unforgiving, that tiny voice that asked if I should try to salvage something, it died in that moment. Because the sheer delusion of that statement, the absolute fantasy required to believe that Dorian, the man who slept with my fiancée for 6 months, and would lift a finger to help me was so staggering that it clarified everything. They hadn't learned anything. They hadn't grown. They were still the same people who'd chosen him over me 5 years ago. The only difference was now they needed something from me. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger anymore, something colder, clearer. You're absolutely right about one thing, Mom. I said, I could hear the hope creep into her voice. What's that? 5 years ago, you told me family comes first. So, let me be crystal clear, you're not my family anymore. You haven't been for 5 years. And whatever happens to Dorian, Marina, or that child, it has nothing to do with me. Owen, you can't mean that. We're your family. I cut her off. No, you made that choice 5 years ago. When you sat me down in that living room and told me to accept being replaced, you ended this family. I didn't. I just accepted what you'd already decided. That's not. We were trying to do what was best for everyone. Best for everyone. I laughed and it came out harsh. You mean best for Dorian? Like always. I spent my entire childhood watching you excuse his behavior, cover for his mistakes, hand him everything while I worked for scraps of approval. And when he took the one thing that was mine, you asked me to smile and accept it. We thought you'd understand eventually. I understand perfectly. I built a new life. I'm successful. I make more money than Dorian ever did. I have people who actually value me, who don't see me as a backup option or a safety net. And I did all of it without you. There was silence on the other end. Then her voice came back smaller. So, you're just going to abandon a child? Your own nephew? You're going to let Marina struggle alone with a 4-year-old while his father lies in a hospital bed. That child has a mother, I said flatly. He has grandparents. 3 people who chose to create this situation. 3 people who chose each other over me. That boy isn't my responsibility. He's the consequence of your choices. He's innocent in all this. So was I. But that didn't stop any of you from choosing Dorian over me. You want to talk about innocent? I was planning a wedding. I was excited about my future. And you all sat there and told me to accept being discarded like I didn't matter. Your father's will still includes you, she said, shifting tactics. Half the business, half the house, the investments. Keep it. The words came out ice cold. Keep every penny. I don't want a single thing from any of you. Not your money, not your guilt, not your convenient sudden need for me. I've made my own way, and I did it without needing anything you could offer. Owen, please. Her voice cracked. What are we supposed to do? And there it was. After everything, after 5 years of silence, after asking me to move in with my brother's baby mama, after dangling inheritance like a carrot, she was asking me what they should do. Exactly what you told me to do 5 years ago, I said. Accept the situation and move on. You made your bed with Dorian. You chose him. You enabled him. You let him think he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. Now lie in it. But he's your brother. I don't have a brother. The words came out final. Absolute. I had one once, but he died the day he decided my fiancée was worth more than our relationship. The man in that hospital bed, he's a stranger. A stranger who made choices that led him exactly where he is now. Owen, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Dorian spent his whole life doing whatever he wanted because you never held him accountable. He drank and drove because he never learned that actions have consequences. And now you want me to fix the mess you created by never telling him no. I heard her take a shaky breath. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Desperate. We're losing everything. Owen, the business is failing without Dorian to run it. We took out loans for his medical care, the house we might have to sell. Your father's health is deteriorating and we can't afford. We have nothing left. Please. We needed Dorian to keep things going. And now. And there it was. The truth beneath all the manipulation. This was never about family love or reconciliation. This wasn't about Troy needing a father figure or Marina needing support. This wasn't even about me being the responsible one. They were broke, desperate, and I was their last resource to exploit. Then you have exactly what you gave me 5 years ago? I said, my voice colder than I knew I was capable of. Nothing. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. For the first time in 5 years, I felt something lift from my shoulders. Something I hadn't even realized I was still carrying. I sat there in my apartment, phone in hand, and waited for the guilt to come. The doubt, the voice that would tell me I'd been too harsh, too cold, that maybe I should have at least helped financially or offered some kind of support. It never came. Instead, I felt clarity. Pure crystalline clarity. They taught me exactly who they were 5 years ago. I just needed this phone call to remind me why I'd walked away in the first place. Why I'd built a new life 800 miles away, why I'd blocked every number and never looked back. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd created Dorian's downfall themselves. Every time they'd covered for him, excused his behavior, enabled his worst impulses, they'd been building toward this moment. The drunk driving accident wasn't random bad luck. It was the inevitable result of a lifetime of zero consequences. My phone buzzed. A text from Iris. Still on for dinner tomorrow? I smiled and typed back, absolutely. The next evening, we were at her place. She'd made pasta. Nothing fancy. Just the kind of comfortable meal you make when you're past the trying to impress stage. But not quite at the living together stage. You seem different, she said, twirling spaghetti on her fork. Lighter, somehow. I'd been debating whether to tell her. We'd kept things surface level about our pasts. Both of us carrying baggage we weren't quite ready to unpack. But she'd been honest with me about her messy divorce, and I owed her the same. I got a call yesterday. I said. From my mother. Her eyebrows went up. The family you don't talk about. Yeah. I told her everything. Not just about the phone call. But about 5 years ago. Marina, Dorian, the living room conversation, the wedding that never happened. The request to move in with Marina and raise my brother's child. She listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from shock to anger to something that looked like respect. What did you say? She asked. I told her no. I told her they made their choice 5 years ago, and I made mine. Then I hung up and blocked the number. Iris was quiet for a moment, studying my face. Do you think you'll ever regret it? Not helping? It was a fair question. The kind of question I'd asked myself in therapy in the quiet moments when I wondered if cutting them off completely made me just as bad as they were. 5 years ago, I would have, I said honestly. I would have felt guilty, obligated, responsible, but they spent 5 years not thinking about me once. Not a single call to apologize, to check in, to acknowledge that what they did was wrong. They only called when they needed something. That's not family. That's using people. And you don't feel bad about saying no? I feel free. The word came out with a certainty that surprised even me. They can't hurt me anymore because they have nothing I want. No approval I'm chasing. No relationship I'm trying to salvage. They're just people I used to know. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good. You deserve better than people who only value you when they need something. 3 months later, I got a letter. It came through my old employer, forwarded to my current address. The return address was from a law firm I didn't recognize. I knew what it was before I even opened the envelope. My father had died. The letter was about his estate. I stood in my kitchen holding the unopened envelope and felt nothing. No grief, no anger, no curiosity about what might be in his will or what strings might be attached. I walked to the trash can and dropped it in. That night, I took Iris to her favorite restaurant. We talked about her upcoming project at work, about the vacation we were planning for next month, about whether we wanted to adopt a dog or a cat when we eventually moved in together. The past stayed where it belonged, in the past. Because here's what I learned. Some people will never understand why you chose yourself over family. Those people are usually the ones who taught you that you had to make that choice in the first place. I don't hate my family anymore. I don't think about them much at all. And that's the most powerful position I could possibly be in. They took everything from me once, but in doing so, they freed me to build something better, something real, something that was actually mine. Some doors once closed stay closed forever. And I've never been happier. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.